Hi everyone, Dankman here. So today's assignment is a review assignment that we actually did do during class time before this shelter-in-place order was issued. It is 4.1, Systems of Equation in Context. So that means we're going to look at a pair of equations attached to a story, and in this case it's a story about Axel and Jesus, and they have some money. There are going to be 3 different clues, and one by one we'll build this system of equations and then solve it in order to solve a riddle about Axel and Jesus. Clue number 1, Axel and Jesus together have a total of $24. Okay? We're going to let the x-axis and the x variable represent Axel's amount of money, and we're going to let y represent Jesus. This statement is called a let statement, and it allows us to build a model about Axel and Jesus to solve the riddle that comes next. Okay? We're going to build a mathematical model of this riddle, or of this clue rather, that combined they have $24 by making a table, a graph, and equation to represent the possible situations that make this statement true, that Axel and Jesus together have $24. Okay, you can follow along on paper. So, we have Axel and Jesus, and combined in total they have $24, which means, for instance, if Axel had $24, then Jesus would only have $0. Or if Axel had $23, then Jesus would have to have $1 in order to make their total worth 24. Or say 20 and $4 would match this clue as well. Or they could, for instance, split it half and half, 12 and 12, okay? Or Axel could have, say, only $5, which would leave Jesus with $19, okay? Or there's the other extreme where Axel only has $0 and Jesus has $24. So any of these dots, for instance, or any of these ordered pairs, for instance, creates the situation where whatever Axel's amount of money is, that's X, plus whatever y, Jesus' amount of money is, gives out $24. So for instance, 5 and 19 together make a total of $24. So the sum of x and y is always going to be 24. Okay? And that point, which I've highlighted in blue, is a point where Axel has $5 and Jesus has $19. And so if you look down at the graph, you can see the ordered pair represented by 5, 19 as a single point on the graph. And I will go ahead and graph the other remaining points. 24, 0, 23, 1, 20 and 4, 12 and 12, 5 and 19, and 0 and 24. And if you fill out that table very rigorously, and you get lots and lots of points, you'll notice all these nice whole number points, giving you a nice straight line. And the reason why I fill in that line is because there are other points on this line that are not whole numbers. For instance, there's the scenario in which Axel only has $10.50. And if Axel has $10.50, then in order for them to have a total of $24, Jesus would have to have $13.50, because 10.5 plus 13.5 makes a total of $24. And so if you trace that up, 10.5 goes right up there to 13.5. And so there are all these other numbers that are not whole numbers, like $10.50 and $13.50, or quarters, etc. And so we have to fill in all of those points to get not a discrete set of points, but a continuous or nearly continuous straight line. You will also notice that that straight line has a slope of -1 Okay, m is equal to change in y over change in x, which is negative 1 over 1. And that slope means that for every dollar that Axel gains, Jesus loses $1. So we created a table, which is a type of, or a piece of a mathematical model. We've created a graph, and that graph gives us a really clear picture of the relation between Axel and Jesus, which is that their sum is $24 always, and as Axel's amount of money increases, Jesus's amount of money decreases. And finally, we can represent that with the equation where Axel's money plus Jesus's money has to total $24, or using the variables x and y, we get x plus y equals 24. You can also see that since this line has a y-intercept of 24 and a slope, as mentioned before, of negative 1, we get y is equal to negative x plus 24. And that's an equivalent but different equation. Okay? I will leave these questions for you, which you can look up on the document online and answer for yourself. Okay? I'm going to switch now to clue number 2. So clue number 2 is a different clue than the first clue, completely separate. Okay? Here's what clue number 2 says. It says Jesus has twice as much money as Axel. We're going to let x represent Axel's money and y represent Jesus, and this is the same thing, a let statement. So this time I'm going to use x for Axel and y for Jesus. And this time the clue says that whatever Axel and Jesus have, Jesus, which is y, is twice as much as Axel, which is x. So for instance, if I were to pick, say, $5 for x, then y needs to be twice as much as $5. Because whatever Axel has, Jesus has to have 2 times as much money as Axel. So 5 and 10, for instance. Or 4 and 8. Or $3.50 and $7. Or 2 and 4. 1 and 2. And this one's a tricky and interesting one. If Axel has $0, Jesus has twice as much as 0, which is also 0. So now I have a whole collection of points, starting with 0, 0, and going from 0, 0 to 1, 2, and 2, 4, and $3.50 and $7, and 4, 8, and 5, 10. Okay? And so any point that you pick, for instance, the point represented by Axel has $2 in the x direction and Jesus has $4 in the y direction, shows that x gives 2, y gives 4, Axel has $2, Jesus has twice as much, that's $4. And so this line paints a pretty clear picture of what's going on with Axel and Jesus. It's a line with a y-intercept of 0 and a slope of 2. Okay? Axel has whatever number of dollars he has, and you multiply that number of dollars by 2, and you get a Jesus's amount of money. And that gives you a line with a slope of 2 and a y-intercept of 0. And this is a line with a slope of 2 and a y-intercept of 0. So the equation could be, hey, whatever Jesus has, you figure it out by taking Axel and multiplying by 2, or you could have the slope-intercept equation, y equals 2x. And so these two questions, is the point 510 on your line, and explain what it means in the context of the story, and does this pair of numbers solve the equation, check using the equation, and then explain in terms of the story. I will leave both of those to you. Next, we'll go to clue 3. So, clue 3 is really actually the system of equations. And we're going to find a solution to this system. So what we have is we have x and y again, a let statement. Let x represent the amount of money Axel has. Let y represent the amount of money Jesus has. Write equations to represent both of these clues. And then use these clues to figure out how much each person has when both clues are true. at the same time. Both clues are true at the same time, or simultaneously. Okay? So together the sum of their money is $24, and the equation was x plus y equals 24 for that clue. And Jesus has twice as much money as Axel, and the equation for that was Jesus would be equal to 2 times Axel. Okay? I'm going to do clue number 1 in red. X plus y equals 24. I'm going to do clue number 2 in blue. Y equals 2x. So if you recall, the x plus y equals 24 line had a y-intercept of 24 and went downhill with a slope of -1. Okay, I'm going to get out my ruler, and I'm going to draw that line in very carefully here. Okay. Boom. Next I have the blue line. That's the line y equals 2x, and so that's a slope of 2 and a y-intercept of 0, so that's the one that's going uphill by 2's. Okay, and when we go uphill by 2's, this is the picture we get. Okay? And so you can see now exactly what a system of equations means in this context. What it means is we have clue number 1, all the possible amounts of money they could have if their sum total is $24. We have clue number 2, all the possible amounts of money they could have as long as Jesus's total is 2 times as much as Axel's total. Okay? But both clues need to be true simultaneously. And what that looks like is the only point that is on both lines is the only solution to both equations at the same time. That's what a system of equations means. And so here we have the point 8, 16, which represents that Axel has $8 and Jesus has $16. And that's the point that's on both lines. And what you'll see, okay, is that if you check to make sure that 8 and 16 sum to 24, which is clue number 1, you find that it's true that if Axel has $8 and Jesus has $16, their total will be $24. Okay, I will leave that explanation to you. Or if you check clue number 2, that y equals 2x, which means that, hey, if Jesus has $16, then Axel should have $8, you also get an equation that is true. So, equation number 1, hey, make sure their total is $24, is made true by this. And equation number 2, hey, make sure that Jesus has twice as much money as Axel, is also made true by that. And those are the explanations which you can write out. Okay, so that's the front and back of Axel and Jesus. And there's one section left, and I'm going to turn to that. Okay. These are problems for you to go ahead and solve on your own, just like before. You do not have to print these up, okay? You can try on your own on a separate piece of paper to graph them. I know it's hard to graph without graph paper and find a solution to a system of equations without graph paper, so it's not required. We're going to be moving off of graphs or off of needing graph paper by the end of this week, so I apologize for the inconvenience, okay? But you can actually still, if you're very careful, graph these and find solutions and then check them using the equations. Okay, thanks very much. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.